Welcome to Dirshu Daf HaYomi B'Halacha. Today we are going to be learning the Hilchos Netilas Yadayim Shacharis, the laws that pertain to washing one's hands in the morning, which is Siman Daled. We are going to be finishing Siman Daled today, starting with Siv Chaf Beis. In addition, we are going to be seeing the short Siman Hey, which is Kavanas HaBrachos, which we'll discuss when we get to it. The three questions that we'll be focusing on today are: what is the solution if one does not have water for Netilas Yadayim? 2, must a person wash his hands to recite a bracha? And the third question, which again will be the next siman, what should one have in mind when saying the name of Hashem? So let's begin with Sif Chaf Beis. Im ein lo mayim. If a person doesn't have water, so yikanach yadav, you can wipe your hands b'soror on a rock, ba'ofar with dust, or b'chol midi demenake, anything that is able to cleanse your hands. V'yavarech al nikios yadayim. The Mechaber says you're supposed to say the bracha of al nikios yadayim, not al netilas yadayim. V'yoyil l'tfila, and this will help for davening. We said that there's a difference between nikios as opposed to ruach ra, which is something which is placed upon the hands when a person wakes up. So let's see the Mishnah Berurah. It says as follows: imagine v'im yesh lo mayim. If you do have water, then tzarich litel afilu l'tfilas mincha v'arvis. So the reality is you're always supposed to use water if you have it. It doesn't matter if it's before you're going to daven mincha or mariv. Even if, let's say, you don't even think your hands are dirty, you still wash your hands, and you should use water if it's available. However, when it comes to, let's say, washing your hands before mincha or mariv, you don't make a bracha. We only wash with a bracha in the morning when we wake up. And then the Mishnah Berurah says, Yikanach yadav, we wipe our hands. Even if you know for sure that they're dirty, still a person is able to wipe with the things that are mentioned in the Mechaber. Gam kein mahani, it'll help. Now it says, Ba'afar oshi shavshe batalos yave. She gives another eitzah that you can take a dry garment and wipe your hands with this vadah. The Mishnah Berurah points out something very important when it comes to this halacha. He says, when it comes to cleansing one's his hands, since it's instead of water. And we said that when you wash your hands, you have to wash all the way up to your wrist, preferably. But the Evid B'Shas, you don't have enough water, let's say, for example, or let's say during Tainios, so it's Kishriat's Boisav, Sarchun Nakois Kohayad. Again, you have to clean your whole hand. Ben Gabo, Uvein, Tocho, Adaperik. The palm, the outside, between the fingers, just like you would be pouring water. Ubediyevid dai adsov kishretz boisav. Again, he says, Bediyevid, if you just did the fingers, Avaloy kamoshnu hagen eza noshim, whoever these eza noshim are, that are noyig incorrectly, shemanakin rak roshi etz boisav. They only clean the tips of their fingers. That is not sufficient. Okay. So let's continue. Let's finish up this siman. Lo tiknu. Actually, let's see this first question. Again, what is the solution if one does not have water for netilas yadayim? So he says as follows: a person who does not have water for netilas yadayim should clean his hands by rubbing them on a hard surface or cloth. Both the front and back of the hands must be rubbed up to the wrist, which again is the quoting of the Mishnah Berurah B'diavad. It is also sufficient if one rubbed up to the knuckles. After this cleaning, one may daven and learn Torah. The Ruach Ra, however, still remains. We saw in the words of Mechaber, one should wash properly when water becomes available. Okay, so now let's see Sif Chav Gimel. Lo tiknu netilas yadayim el kriya shema tefillah. They only masak netilas yadayim in order to be able to say the Shema and to daven. Of a brachos the shachris yachlavar kodem netila. When it comes to brachos, you can say them before. you can say them before you wash. El imkin hu yoshin el mitasai arum. The exception is if a person, let's say, was sleeping in his bed without clothing, yos asul haskas Hashem ad shinaka isam. So there we have the concern, because you're not wearing clothing, that you may have touched certain areas of your body which are generally covered up, as the Mishnah Berurah says, she'oz mistama yadav metunafos b'negias beis hasasarim. It touched certain private areas of one's body, and therefore you have to be more careful. Shinako, some says in the Mishnah Berurah, again, any way you can cleanse them. Also, if one wants to learn Torah, you have to make sure that your hands are clean. Some form of cleaning. The Hagra also says, when it comes to Ruach Ra, we need water. For the other things, Nikiyin Ba'alma is sufficient. And on this, the Biur Musafim says, so for Divrei Torah, you have to make sure you're clean, your hands are clean. How about Hirur Divrei Torah? So he quotes the words of the Ber Halacha, and he says, Shemuter Afpul Natilas Yadav. To have Hirur, even though Hirur Kadibra Dami, nonetheless a person can have Hirurim. So let's say you're not wearing clothes. So you're not saying the bracha. Someone else is saying it for you, and you're just listening. So on this, we see later on that it's asur. If you're arum, mishum she'arum eno yachol anais, a person's not allowed to answer amen. And also, it's shemeh ki'oine, so therefore the reality is that you're not really supposed to be speaking this way. The fact that you're listening, it's ki'oine. It's like you're saying it yourself. Or you have to answer amen. You're not allowed to do those things. And therefore, for that reason, a person should not do so while arum. Second question. Must a person wash his hands to recite a bracha? So hands which have not been recently cleaned but are not known to be dirty are referred to as stam yadayim, hands of undetermined status. When one's hands are in the situation, reciting a bracha and learning Torah are permitted. One should wash his hands before davening, though, even if they are not known to be dirty. A bracha is only recited when washing for shachar, as we said, when there's ruach ra. One who does not have water should follow the procedure described in the previous section, which we quoted. If one does not have water in the morning, he should modify the bracha to al nikiyas yadayim, which were the words of the mechaber. Okay. Let's now continue with the next siman, which is siman hey. Kavanas habrachos uvo sif echad. One is supposed to have certain kavana when they say a bracha, and we have one sif pertaining to this, which we'll see today. Sif al v'yichavin bebrachos per shemilos. When you say a bracha, you're supposed to have in mind the per shemilos. You're supposed to be thinking about the words. On this, the Mishnah Berurah says, Kamo she'amar Chazal, it's brought down the Gemara brachos and Daf Mem Zayin, shel yizrok habracha mepiv. You shouldn't just throw brachos out of your mouth. El yichavin be'es amira. You should have kavana while you're saying it. V'yivarach b'nachas. You say it calmly. V'zel lashon sefer chasidim siman memvav kishu noitel yadav oshem mevarach. When a person says these brachos, yichavin libo l'shem boiro. A person should have kavana. Asher hifli chasto imo, that Hashem has done an abundant amount of kindness to us. V'nasan lo haperos o lechem. He's given us fruit or bread. Lihanos mehem v'tzivanu al mitzvos. He's commanded us to do mitzvos. So a person should have these proper machshavos, and they shouldn't just quickly say a bracha, but rather a person should again have a little bit more of a thought. And on this, in the Biur Musafim says, it's quoting the words of the Shla. Sheyargos atzmo levarach habrachos b'kol ram. Don't say them quietly. You should say the bracha out loud. Why? Ki hakol me'oyer hakavana. That when a person says it out loud, then it causes a person to be able to say the bracha with more kavana. And he quotes, She'en minaneim es halulav kishmaskirin haskaras Hashem nanesha'oz sar chachavin, which is an interesting halacha when it comes to shaking the lulav. The reason why when we say Ana Hashem Moshiach, when it comes to Hashem we don't shake, is because you're supposed to have kavana. So if you're busy doing an action, it could possibly detract from that kavana. So that is the significance of why we're careful when it comes to that. Okay. Also, it's brought down in the Biur Musafin, quoting Gemara and Brachos, that Shisarach Lios Piv Reikan. You're not supposed to be chewing gum when you say a bracha. You're supposed to have an empty mouth, as it says, as Oz Yamale Pi Tihosecha. Gemara Zu Lomad Sefer Eshkoil Shisarach Avarach B'Mali Pi V'Lo Gam Game. Not only does it mean that you're supposed to say it without anything in your mouth, like a toothpick or whatever, but also you should not be slurring it. You have to try to enunciate the words clearly. It should be done properly. Okay, now let's go back in the Mechaber. Kishiyaskir Hashem, when you actually say Hashem's name, Yichabin Perish Kriyaso, Ba'adnus, you have to, first of all, think about the way it's actually read, which is that Hashem's our master, Shu Adain Hakol. God is the master over everything. Yechabim b'ksivaso. Not only do you have to have kavanah the way it is said, which again represents Hashem as our Adon, is our master, but also the way it's written. B'yud, a hey, a vav and a hey, shahaya b'hoy v'viyeh. So we're supposed to think that Hashem was, Hashem is, Hashem will be. V'haskira Elokim, when you come up with the name of Elokim, Yechaven Shu Takiv Bal HaYechayles Ubal HaKoiches Kulam. That Hashem is someone who has the ability to do anything, and He has an abundant amount of koyach, of strength, and of power. So, those are certain things a person should think of when you say Hashem's name. You actually have to think of the Kri and the Ksiv at the same time. So because of that is the reason why we're careful that we don't shake the lulav when Hashem's name is being recited. So in conclusion, the name of Hashem is pronounced differently from the way it is written. Upon saying His name, one should bear in mind both the meaning of the written name and the meaning of its pronunciation. The total intention should be that Hashem is the master of the world, and that His presence was, is, and will be forever. Quotes the Vilna Gaon that rules that the only intention necessary is the meaning of the pronunciation, that Hashem is the master of the world. So the Vilna Gaon, interestingly, says that you just have to think of that Hashem is an Adon, is the master. You don't have to think of Hoya, Hoy V'Viyeh. For the first verse of Kriya Shema, however, the Vilna Gaon agrees that both intentions are necessary. So when you say Shema Yisrael Hashem, when you say Hashem's name, you have to think of both aspects, which is why we say the Shema slowly, because when you say Hashem's name by Kriya Shema, even the Vilna Gaon holds it's necessary that you have to think of the Kri and also the Ksiv. When saying the name Elokim, one should bear in mind that He possesses all the strength in the world and can do anything. So let's see if there was any questions, and then we'll conclude. Let's see. The next one talks about Asher Yatzar, which is what we're going to be seeing next Siman. Ad Kan.